Disclaimer, this video exists for entertainment, education, and theory rebuttal. This video is not an attack on the theory, nor will it, unless stated otherwise, address the theory creator personally. Instead, the creator's name in the video will be used as either a name to address the theory by, or to address the assumed mindset of the creator at the time of the video's creation. If you harass or witch hunt anyone involved with this video, I will personally disown you. Thank you. You know, there was this YouTuber I used to watch called Red Queen Miku 2. I think that was her name. I'll put it up on screen so you can read it yourself. She made videos about debunking old MatPat theories, stating that some of his ideas were not that great. They were either poorly researched or just ignored blatant information in order for his point to work. He still has made some good theories, don't get me wrong, but he probably could have done a lot better with those particular ones. Especially the Mario's Mental one. It's just flipping dumb how bad that one is. They were fun, informative pieces of work, but she recently hasn't posted anything in over a year, so that kind of content has gotten a little dry. Thankfully, however, another YouTuber stepped into the ring called Seawitch. I think. He was more focused on debunking the more recent Mario game theories, and he made some excellent points. You guys should really check them both out, they're awesome. It filled the lack of content I was missing. It was so much fun. While it lasted. He also hasn't posted a theory debunk in a while, and probably won't ever again unless it's Mario related. It's honestly kinda sad. It was so much fun watching those kinds of videos. It made me miss that style of content. I loved them so much that I always wanted to make a debunking video of my own. And luckily, or unfortunately, depending how you look at it, I have come across a theory I wish to debunk myself. Which theory, you may ask? Well, by the title of the video, you can probably tell what it is. A film theory! It was presented by the new host of the channel, Lee. And what does Lee have in store for us? Well, he has posted a theory on the main digital Circus, theorizing how someone among the gang might just secretly be an NPC. So what's wrong with this theory? Well, allow me to explain. Strap in your headsets, fellows theorists, because this is going to be one heck of a virtual ride. Also, side note, I'm only going to stick to what Lee had at the time, so no episode 3 stuff here, even though there's one line that really does debunk a lot of stuff, which I won't touch on here. Okay, now let's begin.
One of these characters in the amazing digital circus is an AI imposter,
which is going to be Jax, due to the title and thumbnail saying so.
Learned a lot about how the circus works, and also more about each of the main characters. For example, apparently the cast can remember elements from their past lives, it's just their names that have been completely forgotten.
When I first heard this line, I was a little confused where he was getting this from. I later learned he was referring to outside sources like Gooseworks and this one line in the Chocolate River scene that referenced Augustus Gloop. It really would have been nice if Lee showed this evidence to back up his claim, but I guess it wasn't all that important in the theory as a whole, even though it's a huge revelation to just casually mention and not expand upon. But I guess it's fine.
Maybe the AI within this computer game isn't actually that different from the human characters that get sucked into it. Yeah, this was a major theme for the episode. There was a whole multi-minute long conversation dedicated to the subject, and it got me wondering, well, what if there isn't a difference? And what if the series is really going to drive that home with a twist reveal down the road? That's right, friends. I believe that one of our main cast here in the amazing digital circus is an NPC.
Which is again clearly Jax.
But before we talk about the bright, colorful characters of the amazing digital circus, let's talk about the bright, colorful clothing of
Skip!
Well, not to bury the lead, but Kane heavily implies that an NPC has come into the circus before.
I know you guys love your NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen?
No he doesn't. What he implies is that he dreads the possibility of such an occurrence. There's nothing in his words or voice that states that it happened before. Oh, by the way, keep this quote in mind for later. It will be important real soon.
While trying to entice Zooble to join in on the adventure in the Candy Canyon Kingdom, Kane tells her that.
Tells them that. They don't have a confirmed gender yet due to having an identity crisis. Although they do sound like a girl, so I kinda get the confusion.
I'm testing out a new AI in this one! It should be 57 times more immersive!
I'm testing out a new AI in this one. It should be 57 times more immersive! Keep this in the back of your mind as well. It's really important.
Elsewhere in the episode, we see this to be true. The AI of the NPCs we see in this new level is far and away more advanced than what we see in episode 1.
Would I even belong?
I'm sure you wouldn't belong any less than me.
Pomni is straight up telling Gummy Goo that it doesn't matter if he's real or not. They are the same. At the very least, this is driving home the theme that the AI in this game and its human characters aren't actually so different. And combined with everything else we've talked about, the show is absolutely seeding the possibility that one of the human characters is not what they seem. And so now that begs the question, who is it? Which one of them is an NPC?
It's Jax.
Right off the bat, we can likely eliminate Zooble and Gangle.
Yeah, cause it's Jax.
What about Kinger? He's supposedly been there the longest, and is definitely the one that seems the most glitchy, for the lack of a better term. Again, I'm not so convinced.
Because it's Jax. Also, keep this in mind for later as well. I know I'm telling you to remember a lot of things, but don't worry, I'll explain them all real soon. Just keep holding on to them for me, okay? Thanks, man.
That leaves us with just Ragatha and Jax.
Guess who it is? You're right, it's Jax. We're almost halfway through the video and we still don't know why Jax is an NPC. I'm not trying to bash on the fact that the video is long. You do need time to explain in order for things to make sense. But literally, the entire build up to who it is ruined by the answer being in the thumbnail and title of the video. Stop playing around like we don't know it already. Explain!
At first glance, Ragatha does seem like a good candidate, despite telling Pomni that there were no hard feelings for leaving her to the abstracted Kaufmo. If someone ever says that in a series like this, that means there are definitely hard feelings.
Not really. Some people like Ragatha are just really easy to forgive people. I mean, she was in pain when she said she's sorry about how Pomni's first day was going. She's just too nice. It probably just still hurts Ragatha's feelings when Pomni left her in pain like that, but she doesn't seem to really be holding that against her. She's just too nice to be a villain. So why are you even entertaining the idea that she could be an NPC? We all know it's Jax!
Thematically, it makes more sense for Ragatha to fall into the mentor archetype, showing Pomni the ropes, before Ragatha inevitably falls to the mentor occupational hazard trope, showing Pomni the dark fate that she herself could face.
And what exactly points to this? Just because it's a trope in fiction doesn't mean it's going to happen. It wouldn't be a bad idea, I'm just saying I want more evidence than it's just being a common trope.
Which leaves us with Jax.
Yes, finally we get to the actual point of the video. Now, for real this time, let's start dissecting this theory. Halfway through the video.
And oh man, it could definitely be Jax. First of all, Jax being an NPC would make a lot of his quirks suddenly make a lot more sense. For example, Jax is the only character who's able to keep his head steady while driving a truck over the rocky road, something that would probably be much easier for a computer program or an AI to do rather than a human. Additionally, gravity doesn't seem to affect him in the same way as the others. Notice that during the Mad Max truck chase sequence, characters like Pomni are thrown around by the momentum of the trucks. She has to hold on to prevent herself from being flung off the vehicles. But Jax, he stands upright as the truck plummets vertically into the chocolate river. This is much more similar to the Gator NPC Max, who is able to pull himself back up onto the bandit's truck while similarly ignoring the laws of physics.
Okay, two things. One, it's a video game. Real-world physics is hard to translate into a digital realm. Two, Gangle is also technically ignoring the laws of physics here by not flying out of the truck before Jax can blame her for anything. Oh, and so does Kaufmo. When he's abstracted and chasing Pomni, he runs on the side of the wall, defying gravity. Now, being abstracted could allow him to do these things, but there's no clear way to know this, so using gravity to tell who an NPC is doesn't really work. These are just gags, as you do mention, but it is a weird quirk of him to point out. Nice little observation. So what else do you got, Lee?
For one, Jax is incredibly good at getting into places that he shouldn't. In the pilot, Jax reveals that he has keys to everywhere, all the other rooms in the circus. Additionally, he is able to very easily steal the key to the kingdom walls in episode 2. To me, this sounds a lot like Jax has sort of administrator access to the circus and its connected levels.
Okay, that is a good point. He does seem to be able to get everywhere somehow. But this could just be Jax messing with the game's bugs like a playtester. What Jax's personality is more closely designed after. Heck, this is just how some people play games. For example, Let's Game It Out. Someone who intentionally tries to crash the game he plays for fun. Like Jax trying to find the keys to every door in the circus, especially the ones he's not supposed to be in. This isn't a bad point, and there is no real clear way to disprove this claim, but it's just kind of vague. It's a suspicious detail that could lead into something, but I think I need a little more evidence than just keys. What else have you got?
He's the only one of the main cast that seems to break the fourth wall. It's kind of a blink and you miss it moment, but in the first episode, Jax looks straight at the camera, straight at us. Though this could be played off as us being in the point of view of Ragatha, who immediately asks,
why are you looking at me like that?
It's still a weird moment. And in episode 2, he does it again, shrugging directly at the viewer. The only other character we've seen act similarly is another NPC, Kane, when he speaks directly to the audience at the beginning of the pilot.
You know, that's a good point. Kane is the only other person that does this sort of thing who is an NPC, so that kinda adds up. But this could be that he knows that he's in a show via Kane telling Pomni and supposedly everyone else,
We stay right here, where I can keep my hundreds of all-seeing eyes on you.
So maybe Jax does know there's a camera, just like everyone else in the circus. In fact, when Pomni interrupts their theme song, Jax mentions that they'll have to do it all over again, which Jubal doesn't want to do. So answer me this, why do they want to do this little act? Because they're in a show. They are performing for the audience watching, and they know it. It might be that Jax, being the explorer he is, has figured out where all the cameras are and decides to break the fourth wall for comedic effect. At first, this seems like solid evidence, but when you break it down, everyone in the circus could do this if they wanted to. Hope your next idea is actually backed up with a source.
But Jax is the only one of the main castmates to show any real sign of hunger or even interest in food.
Oh no, they killed Zubul. Anyway, you guys want to go get something to eat? You know, I am pretty hungry.
You didn't even do anything.
So what? I can still be hungry.
Why is this significant? Well, according to Kinger, the humans in the digital world have no need to eat, drink, or sleep.
Well, not really, because we don't need to eat, drink, or sleep in this digital world, so the digital food here only gives off the virtual sensation of eating without any of the nutritional benefits.
However, NPCs do seem to need food. Like in episode 2, the crocodile bandits say that
This much syrup would save hundreds of people.
this implies that foods like syrup can help NPCs. In episode 1, Bubble eats the angel food cake.
You parasites!
The glowing queen eats Zubul, and the fudge speaks about eating many of the candy townsfolk. We even see Kane and Bubble in a restaurant during the pilot, though it doesn't look like their food has arrived yet. Additionally, though we do see the human characters at a table set with food during the Last Supper scene in the pilot, we don't see any of them eating. And this was given to them as a reward by Kane, an AI who would see food as essential. So Jax craving food, unlike any of the other human characters we've seen so far, is another tell that he's an AI.
This one I'm a little iffy on. On the one hand, it's a good comparison on how both Kane and Jax seem to desire food unlike the rest of the gang, but on the other hand, we never actually see Jax eat the food. Also, we know that they can eat food, they just don't need to. It does get off the virtual sensation of eating, so it would be nice to eat something. I don't know, like, there is a clear comparison between the two, but just because Jax wants to eat and no one else does, doesn't really prove he's an NPC.
Wait, I hear you saying. Doesn't the show's official synopsis say that the amazing digital circus is about 6 humans subjected to the whims of wacky AI? And yes, that is correct. However, there are ways to explain this. But even still, assuming that the synopsis is correct, it can still work. That 6th human could be Kaufmo the clown. Yeah, but while we don't see him before he abstracts, he still is present in the first episode of the series, and his funeral played a big, thematic, important part in episode 2. That would mean that he's still in the series and was still subjected to the whims of this wacky AI, thus making that synopsis still technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
Please, remember this for later. It is important.
Had a different one over on her teaser for the series uploaded to her personal YouTube channel, and this one describes the circus as a 3D animated pilot about a rogue AI that relentlessly has fun adventures with 6 human souls.
This one as well. Man, your hands must be really full right now. Don't worry, I'll take those back in a second, trust me. You can hold on a little longer, right? Yeah, you'll be fine.
Has fun adventures with is an interesting phrase to use here, since Kane never goes on any adventures with the cast. But do you know who does go on the adventures with the other characters? Jax. And not only that, but he's excited to. In episode 1, as soon as Pomni shows up, like immediately afterward, he asks,
So, Kane, we having a new adventure today for the newbie or what?
and his reasoning for all of it?
I'm fine with doing whatever, as long as I get to see funny things happen to people.
He just wants to mess with them. Sounds like something a rogue AI who wants to torment the cast would think, doesn't it? And again, like, rogue AI and torment are weird words to describe Kane and what he does, right?
Well, this might be more of a reference to Kane's inspiration to the rogue AI in the book and later adapted video game I Have No Mouth and Must Scream, which is ironic being that Kane has a mouth and always screams. A rogue AI that torments the remaining humans on Earth to torture doesn't really sound like him, but hey, we don't actually know if Kane is a good AI. With the 2 episodes that Lee had access to at the time. He could very well have some sinister motives. But who knows, this point could still work for Jax. It does sound a lot like him. Good work there.
Do you know who does torment the cast? Day in and day out, every time we see them? Jax. He's physically abusive. Like, just to name a few instances, he steps on Gangle's mask without caring, throws a bowling ball at Kinger to knock him into the gloink layer, pushes Gangle over for no reason, and throws Pomni out of the candy truck without a second thought. On top of that, he threatens them, often. He tells Ragatha that he left a centipede, her worst fear, hidden in her room, forces Gangle to ram the syrup tanker, or he'll tell Ragatha about the figurine thing, and saying that Ragatha's hair looks like licorice in front of a monster that eats people made out of candy. He doesn't even bother to show up for Kaufmo's funeral.
Whoa, hey, what kind of evidence is that? Just because he's a jerk doesn't make him an AI. Also, you clearly edited that last clip. If you watch the whole thing, you'll notice one frame where Jax looks upset or remorseful after rolling his eyes and walking away. He does feel sad about Kaufmo. So you might be asking, then why doesn't he go to the funeral? Well, there is more than one reason to not go to someone's funeral. It may be because it hurts too much. Jax doesn't want to say goodbye, so he decides not to. It's a big part of his character. It's been highly theorized that Jax pushes people away so that when they leave, he won't feel so bad about it. If they never liked him and he never tries to like them back, then it won't hurt so much. And besides, just because someone doesn't go to someone's funeral doesn't make them an NPC. He's just a jerk. That doesn't mean he's a heartless AI. Please tell me you have something more concrete than this coming up, right? Right?
And he gets very unhappy when bad guys seem to die, like when the Fudge is seemingly killed in the Candy Kingdom.
I'm so unbelievably disappointed right now.
He even leaves the Kingdom Gates open for the Fudge so he can murder the Candy citizens. I could go on and on and on, but you get it.
No, you actually can't. You literally listed off all the terrible deeds right then and there. Don't say this unless you could actually go on and on.
On her Tumblr, Gooseworks has gone into great detail about how despicable Jax is. He's morally the worst character in the show. When a fan said that they hoped that Jax would get worse, she said that you're probably gonna enjoy some of the things we have planned, and then later reiterated that he will become much worse.
Yeah. And how does this prove he's an NPC?
How mean and cruel we see him being in episode 2. And perhaps most important for us here today, when asked if Jax was just a jerk or an anti-hero, Gooseworks explains that there's absolutely nothing heroic about him.
And your point being?
Would that be because he's actually the villain here? Yeah, friends, clearly. They are positioning Jax to be the true villain of this show, not Kane.
I actually have a whole video talking about how I think it would be kind of cool for him to be a villain, depending on what happens. So I do agree with you there. But what does this have to do with Jax being an NPC? Like, seriously, just because he's a jerk doesn't make him a non-player character.
And the biggest thing that clinched this for me, that convinced me that Jax was gonna be the big bad who would break the system, believe it or not, it was the merch.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Jax has been positioned as a major character for Glitch through their merchandising since the very beginning. When the pilot for the Amazing Digital Circus first aired, tell me, what two characters do you think they made plushies out of? It was Pomni and Jax. Now, Pomni makes total sense. She is the main character after all. But why Jax and not someone like Kane, who is the other poster character for the series, who is arguably the main antagonist? They position Jax to be just as important as Pomni with these plushes. And that isn't even the biggest hint we get through Glitch's merchandise. See, all of the main characters for the Amazing Digital Circus now have enamel pins over on Glitch's store, and the card back for each of them has them in either the character's room or an environment directly connected to the character. Where do you think that they put Jax? In his bedroom, like the others? In the main circus floor? Hiding somewhere? Breaking into someone else's room? Nope. Unlike the others, he's just outside of his bedroom, his nameplate broken and letters on the floor. But most importantly, the texture on the back of the card has been ripped, revealing the glitchy void underneath. Not even Kane, the ringleader for the circus who creates and controls all of the levels of this world, is shown here in the void. His pin is still contained within the circus, but Jax is breaking apart from it, tearing it down. Why would they add this detail only to Jax's pin if they weren't trying to tell us that there's something deeper going on with this character? That just underneath the surface, he's glitchy and robotic and computer generated, just like the void.
Oh. Look, you make a solid point. Jax will probably end up breaking the circus into tiny little pieces. He might be the big bad. But none of this proves he's an NPC. Although some of you might not believe me yet. I myself haven't actually disproven this theory, just giving some vague explanations on the matter, so it could still work. Well, there is this one thing that he shows in this video that proves him wrong. One line in dialogue that destroys this whole theory. One. Technically two. Do you remember it? Here, hand it over to me and I'll show you. Thank you. Remember this?
I'm testing out a new AI in this one. It should be 57 times more immersive.
New AI. In your video, you have said yourself that the AIs in the previous episode weren't as good, and this new AI is so much more advanced. So tell me this, Lee. How can Jax be an advanced AI if that kind of AI only existed until today? Jax can't be an NPC because NPCs that complex haven't existed yet. This line was literally in your own video. How do you miss this? This is information you have just blatantly ignored in order for your point to make sense. That is not good theory crafting. That's one of the main reasons why some of MatPat's old theories are such terrible theories. You need to account for everything, and if it disproves your theory, then take notice of it and make a different theory. Don't just ignore it! Overall, the theory is flawed. At face value, it sounds alright, but if you really look deep into the context and listen to what they're actually saying, then you realize that it proves nothing. The evidence Lee provided is too vague. Jax wants to eat some food? Well, so can all the other circus members if they want to. Jax has some keys that can access almost anywhere? Well, maybe he stole them from Kane. You don't know. He talks to the camera? Everyone in the circus knows this is a show. They'll know that there are cameras. Jax being an a-hole? You don't need to be a jerk to be an NPC. Do you see what I'm saying here? You could see Jax as being an NPC with this evidence, but you could stretch it to mean he's not at the same time. It's not concrete evidence. And by the way, the last segment of the video had nothing to do with Jax being an NPC at all. It's not a bad idea to suggest that Jax might become a villain. I'm all for it. But does he have to be an NPC in order to be a bad person? No. So maybe try figuring out what his plan for breaking the circus is instead of wasting our time dragging on who it could be to then come to a conclusion that doesn't even need Jax to be an AI to work. It was just a horrible theory. But hopefully now that this video is done, Lee will be able to move on and learn from his and others before his mistakes. I hope his next video gets better.
But that being said, Jax wasn't the only contender I had in mind while writing this video.
Huh?
There's actually a lot of evidence pointing towards Pomni being an NPC too.
What?
Which we will be exploring very soon. Yeah, we'll be doing another episode exploring the possibility that Pomni is actually a secret AI NPC in the near future.
No! It's a two-parter? Oh, come on! Well, I'm not interested in making this a two-parter. Might as well get it over with here. I mean, it can't get any worse, right? Yeah, I think I know the answer to that.
Last time we talked about the gargantuanly viral YouTube mega hit, The Amazing Digital Circus, we theorized that one of the human castmates was actually an AI, hidden in their ranks, and there was a lot of evidence pointing towards this being the case.
Yes, you had evidence. If that is what you call vague explanations, then yes, you had evidence.
For example, Kane made a point to really hammer home just how advanced the AI in the circus was.
I'm testing out a new AI in this one. It should be 57 times more immersive.
Wait, you had it in this video as well? Oh, come on! How do you not notice this? Ugh. Oh, that reminds me. Hey there, viewer. Could you maybe hold on to this again? It's kind of important. I know you're still carrying a lot from the previous important stuff, but don't worry, I'll promise I'll explain it all real soon. Just hang in there, buddy.
They're really worried about losing track of who is who and what is what.
I know you guys love your NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen?
That is the face of a man who knows exactly what would happen and has probably made that mistake before.
No, it doesn't. It obviously... Huh. You know what? There's no real point to save this problem for later. So hey, you mind giving me back that thing I said you remember? It's the one that just passed by your screen. Thanks, man. See, I told you I'd take this back eventually. So, why do I want you to remember this clip anyways? Well, it's a similar reason why I want you to remember... Hold on, can you pass me the other one? Thanks. This clip.
I'm testing out a new AI in this one. It should be 57 times more immersive. I know you guys love your NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen?
The reason why I call out these two clips is because in order for this clip to be about Kane regretting a mistake he made before, then the previous clip contradicts this. It's a new AI. It hasn't happened yet. And a good example of this contradiction is the Gloink Queen, who you brought up in your previous theory as an example. She acts more like an actress than a genuine character who believes they're real. So she can't exist either. How can you read through your script talking about an old AI that sucks compared to a new AI and come to the conclusion that Jax, who existed before this new AI, is the same new AI? How does this happen? Who proofreads your scripts? This just can't work because Jax can't be this new AI simply because it didn't even exist yet. And I predict that some of you are probably trying to prove me wrong in the comments, so I did actually think of a possible counterargument you might say to this. Well, this kind of code doesn't just pop up overnight, so maybe Kane worked on it over months or even years, and then Jax just escaped into the circus by then. Kane just knows an NPC escaped, but forgot who. And I gotta admit, that could work. That could be the case. But my only question is, why wouldn't he remember? How can Kane remember that an NPC has infiltrated the circus before, but at the same time not remember who it is? If Jax could theoretically make him forget which NPC escaped, then why not just make him forget an NPC ever escaped? And even then, Kane did model and create him, right? So if Jax is an AI, then Kane could just tell by looking at him. If he's an NPC, his code will tell him how to act and behave. But if Jax is a player, then Kane will just see the code that allows the avatar to be controlled. I am just spitballing here, so there is no real proof that any of this is the case. But with the evidence at hand, I don't think Jax is an NPC. He's just a comical jerk that likes to mess with the game and the players in it, and may become an antagonist later on. But do you even know who else can't be the one? Our new member, Pomni! Even if we ignore the contradictions of these two clips, which are pretty hard to ignore, there is still more evidence that Lee wishes to bring to light. Who knows? Maybe he has an ace up his sleeve. Let's find out, shall we?
Yeah, after looking at the science behind AI, how they really work in the real world, I saw a lot of red flags that aligned with Pomni. Is that the direction that the amazing digital circus is headed in? Maybe, maybe not. But the science and technology lines up too well not to talk about it, to bring up the possibility. Because hey, that's the joy of theorizing, right? So that's right, friends. If we look at how AI works in the real world, it becomes clear that there might be just more to Pomni than meets the eye, and she might be the latest iteration of an AI meant to replace humanity.
Oh, that would have been super useful for your previous video now, wouldn't it, Lee? But just before I get ahead of myself, let me ask you, Lee, what is an AI?
But there's actually a lot that falls under that umbrella in the real world, from ChatGPT to video game enemies to computers playing chess or whatever the heck meta AI is supposed to be. This is wildly simplified, but at the most basic level, an AI is just a computer program that wants to learn how to complete a specific task. For example, let's say we wanted to make an AI that could look at images of Pomni and classify whether she was smiling or horrified. For you and me, that would be a pretty simple but tedious job. We can just look at each picture and use our complex, fleshy human brains to put them into the appropriate category. But how do you teach a computer whose brain is a bunch of programmable ones and zeros to do the same task? And on top of that, how do you even teach it what a smile or a horror is, or even who Pomni is for that matter? Short answer, it's a lot of math. Long answer, well, you could spend a whole college degree trying to figure that out. But simplified long answer, AI programs are what are known as neural networks. Think of them as kind of a mechanical version of our own brain. On one side of this machine, we feed it our image of Pomni. Inside this machine, there's a giant web of wires and numbers that take the information from that Pomni pic and analyze it. Then, on the other end, the machine spits out an answer like, this Pomni is horrified. But here's the thing. When it's first created, the wires in this machine are just sort of haphazardly stuffed into the box. So, the machine doesn't really know if it's doing a good job of identifying the image. It can't really separate the smiling from the sus.
Sus? Was that a mistake or was that intentional? Because if that was intentional, then that is just blatantly obvious and not funny at all.
It can learn. As a human, we step in to let it know how right or wrong it was in that identification. At this point, the AI goes in and changes up the wires ever so slightly to try again, before giving out new results and then being told whether it was right or wrong again. It does this over and over and over until eventually it's pretty good at the job it's been trained to do. The wires inside the machine are nice and tidy and leading to all of the right places. This is actually how generative AI works.
Okay, thanks for that, Lee. So with all that in mind, does Jax act like an AI? No! He acts like a very human bully! Oh, by the way, we're trying to figure out if they're an NPC, not just an AI in general. For those that don't know, NPC is short for non-player character. They are created by a team of artists who write up a personality and design for that character. They then have their coders make code that mimics the character's little quirks. They create pathing behaviors, they type up dialogue they'll say, and give them animations that get off the vibe the creator of the character was going for. Basically, they create code that tells the AI who they are and how they will react. Kane's NPCs are a little more complicated than that, but it still has the same result. They are programmed to be who they are and how they will react. That is what an NPC is. Oh, and one more thing. Why didn't you bring this up until now? Oh, I think I know why. Because it contradicts your theory, doesn't it? Well, okay, fine. While Jax might not fit into this, Pomni might still have a chance of being one. Care to elaborate on your case, Mr. Lee?
I'm sure you've seen a bunch of conversation around these sorts of AI recently with chatbots like ChatGPT and AI programs like Midjourney and DALL-E. Their goal is to create an image based on a prompt it's been given. Like, say, image of a low-poly video game of a female red and blue jester from the amazing digital circus looking distressed standing on a tightrope between two skyscrapers. And it's trained by looking at millions of images and bodies of text, finding patterns, and then regurgitating them back into something that some people might call art. And this stuff is getting really good, like frighteningly good. Case in point, we have two artists basically working full-time here at Theorist to make our thumbnails from scratch, drawing new art or manipulating other assets, all by hand. They crush it every week, and people still wonder with basically every video whether or not we use AI to generate our thumbnails, all because these programs have gotten that good at emulating this sort of art. Also, just to be clear, we don't use AI for our thumbnails and don't plan to.
Nice! Glad to hear you guys. Death to AI art! Woo!
Regardless, now that we know all of this about AI, we can also figure out that this is how the NPC characters in the digital circus work. For example, let's look at one of the characters that we know is an AI, Kane. Compare what we just described to what Kane has done in the series. He creates levels and creatures that seem like weird mishmashes of ideas.
Well, that's how Kane works, who is an AI and not an actual NPC. Using this method to train an AI how to act like a human would take so much time. I mean, it's like the process Kane would use to make these characters, so yeah, okay, that works.
But the biggest connection of all, Kane can't actually create anything himself, since we know he couldn't think of anything to put behind the exit door.
I was having so much trouble figuring out what to put on the other side and ended up never quite finishing it.
It tells us that these NPC characters aren't just inspired by real-world AI, they work the same way too.
Well, okay, but this only really seems to work with Kane. The other NPCs act so much more human than him. Can you give me an example of an NPC acting like a general AI? Of course you can't.
Only sort of AI that works this way. Pretty much all of the AI that we have now does, including chatbots and assistants like Siri and Alexa. Sorry for all the phones that I just triggered there.
Well, joke's on you, I don't have a Siri! And also didn't activate my Alexa, so ha!
Iterative AI is exactly what it sounds like. Every new version of it improves over the last, iterating on what worked and what didn't. A good example of these are those computer programs you see to take a 3D character and learn how to walk with them, so to speak. But another good example, tool-assisted speedrunning. Yeah, as in trying to beat a video game as quickly as possible, but doing it with a computer. This video from YouTuber Kush Gupta goes into far more detail, but the long and short of it, the computer wants to get Mario from A to B as quickly and efficiently as possible. It will try a bunch of random actions to see what works, and will inevitably get Mario killed. Using that information, it will then be slightly reprogrammed to try again, and fail again, and again, and again, over and over, tweaking its instructions until it's finally found the most optimized route to beat Super Mario. Almost like it's using the memories of its previous lives to get better each new go-around. And do you know who that sounds an awful lot like?
Let me guess, is it Pomni?
Pomni.
Nailed it. Wonder how I could have guessed that. It's not like it was in the thumbnail of a video or anything.
Pomni is the latest generation of an iterative AI. Now, that might seem like a stretch, especially since all the marketing material has said that Pomni is a human woman sucked into the computer. But remember this?
I'm testing out a new AI in this one. It should be 57 times more immersive. I know you guys love your NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen?
Holy crap, again? He does it again? How do you not notice this? Are you intentionally ignoring the words new AI and more immersive? That's the only way how you could have ignored this tiny, minuscule, ever so important little detail 3 times! Ah! Ah! It's okay, I'm cool. Let's continue, shall we?
Plus, it's very suspicious that this interaction,
But I'm not even a real person. Would I even belong?
I'm sure you wouldn't belong any less than me.
happens between an AI and specifically Pomni. They're drawing attention to the fact that Pomni is no different than NPCs like Gummy Goo.
Well, that's because Pomni herself doesn't feel like she belongs in the circus. She feels like she's only from the real world. She doesn't believe she fits in with the rest of the band.
Feeling like you're nothing is kind of normal. I mean, people even feel like that in the world I came from. The circus, the place I'm from, well, I'm originally from somewhere else.
Up to this point, she has been having low self-esteem, thinking that she is worthless. So for her to say that she's sure that he wouldn't belong any less than her, proves that she feels alone here, comparing herself to a bundle of lifeless code. It's a part of the story's narrative, not evidence that she's an AI. Not everything is hidden lore. It's a part of the story. Get with the program.
And later in that same conversation, Gummy Goo even says,
You're a strange little character.
he calls her a character, a very interesting choice of words as opposed to something like person who is trapped here.
Not everything is hidden lore. You know the word character doesn't just mean someone fictional, right? The exact definition of the word character is as follows: the mental and moral quantities distinctive to an individual. Its second definition is person in a novel, play, or movie. But it's not the only way you could use the word. It is a word that just makes sense with Gummigoo's dialect for him to describe Pomni as. It also just sounds way more natural than, you're a strange little person who is trapped here. And are you implying that Gummigoo knows she's an AI? How would that make any sense? You need to keep in mind not just the creator's intentions, but the character's intentions. I know it seems like I'm getting mad about a small gag, but he's treating it like it's evidence. It doesn't sound odd or out of place, it's just casual dialogue. Not everything is lore.
But if you don't want to feel trapped in the circus like all of our lovable castmates here in the amazing digital circus, you need to check out the sponsor for today's episode, NordVPN.
Oh, that was an excuse to transition into your sponsor deal. Okay, that's on me, sorry. I pulled the gun on that one. Please, continue, Lee. With the theory, not the ad. Skip!
Why do I think that Pomni's an iterative AI specifically? Well, the first thing that tipped me off was actually another clip from episode 2. Listen here to what Ragatha says about Pomni here in her nightmare.
Well, I guess we're not all cut out for it.
Not cut out for it? This wording jumped out to Matt and me when we were first reacting to this episode over on GT Live. And sure, it might mean that they're just talking about Pomni as a human surviving in the circus. But if we look at it through the lens of Pomni as an AI, it sounds an awful lot like Pomni's dream here is telling her subconsciously that her iteration isn't ready.
Huh? Wait, there's no other gag you're leading up to, right? Okay, good. So, AIs have subconsciouses now? Okay. You know what? Riddle me this. Why put the effort to give AIs dreams if instead you could just have them turn off and sleep? What's the point of it to an AI? Also, have we seen other NPCs talk about their dreams? No? Then how is this evidence? It just makes more sense that this is just Pomni subconsciously telling herself that she's not cut out for this. She fears she'll lose herself here. It's not that much of a stretch for humans to have dreams here because, well, their subconscious is inside this game. And we don't even really know why we dream at all, so them having these dreams in the digital circus just makes sense.
By the end of the first episode, she was not adjusting to this new environment well. And yet, by episode 2, which takes place just the following morning, Pomni suddenly has a much better grasp of her situation and is able to offer meta critique of the world.
Our entire existence here is just LARPing. What time period is this supposed to be again?
It's almost like after going to sleep, she was able to rewire a little bit, just like an AI.
Or like a real person who just had a really bad day and sleeps it off in order to clear their thoughts for the next morning. I guess that makes me an AI. Time to go do robot things. Beep, boop, bop, bop, beep, boop, bop, bop.
There are multiple points in episode 2 where Pomni has gained a lot of knowledge about the mechanics of this world.
Where are we?
I don't know. We're somewhere under the map, I think.
Why aren't you or any of your crew up here?
I'm not sure, because we're not, NPCs?
What do you have in mind in terms of getting us out of here?
I don't know. Maybe some kind of glitch with the truck's collisions?
She understands exactly how this world works.
Yeah, because it was all set up from the last episode, and the opening from this episode with Pomni glitching on the block. It's just common storytelling. It shows that she's learned something. The one line that doesn't really fit into this excuse is the line under the map, but from you saying that they remember parts of their past lives, and since Pomni might have worked at CNA or at least had played video games before, she probably would know that what the term under the map means. Probably. Anyway, Lee still has more to go, so let's just finish this already. I'm tired.
What's more, we can even figure out exactly who Pomni's previous iteration was. It was Kaufmo, the clown.
Oh, you actually gotta be kidding me right now. Hey, audience, can you hand me over those synopsis clips I gave you earlier? I'm gonna need them both, by the way. Thanks, I really appreciate it. So, Lee, remember when you said you would be technically correct on your Jax theory with the synopsis? Well, not anymore! Because apparently Kaufmo is an AI too! So you're not the best kind of correct, you're the worst kind of correct. Incorrect! The synopsis clearly says a woman gets trapped in a crazy virtual world along with 5 other humans and are now subjected to the whims of a wacky AI and their own personal traumas. And the other synopsis on the Gooseworks video goes, a rogue AI that relentlessly torments has fun ventures with 6 human souls. And you said that Jax could be that AI if Kaufmo was the other human. But now that can't be because he wasn't a human the whole time! By the way, this wouldn't have worked in the first place. If this was the case, that Kaufmo was the other human, then why does it just include Kaufmo who has been abstracted, but not all the other abstracted members as well? It doesn't work. You debunked your previous theories with your line of logic. Also, remember again, I'm yelling at your logic, not you personally. But you know what that implies, by the way? That NPCs can be abstracted now? So why didn't Gummy go abstract then? It literally was in your video. Literally, how do you miss this bright red flag and keep on doing the video anyways? How is this possible? Also, something that I think should be considered is the fact that we know the ages of Pomni and Jax and the entire cast. My problem though at this point is that I don't actually know if this even proves or disproves the theory. Something about it feels like it should, but I can't figure it out. So please, if you guys can figure it out, tell me in the comments. I am dumbfounded. That feels important.
Exactly did Pomni do? The first thing she did when she arrived at the digital circus, before trying to take her headset off or talk to any of the others or whatever, the very first thing she did was try to head for the exit.
No, she didn't. The first thing she did was touch her face, where the headset would be. Meaning before she asked, how do I take this headset off, she tried to take it off. You had this scene in your favor. That's not how you make a good theory.
Well, it wouldn't be strange if she was programmed to head for the exit, just like she was trained to in an earlier life.
Let me ask. Why? 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 Would Kane program an AI to do that? Now, this might actually be in reference not to Kane, but to the programmers of the game itself, which, fair enough, but if CNA want to replace humanity with this AI, why not use one of Kane's NPCs? They're already indistinguishable between real people. Doing this process by programming an iterative AI to escape is really unnecessary. Why does it need to find the exit? Can't the programmers just get a flash drive able to store terabytes of data and extract the AI? Why make this overly complicated process programming an AI to escape in a place with no exit? When would the AI be good enough?
I mean, it's not like there's a whole lineage of these clown-like characters we can trace back like we're going through a bunch of iterations of AI, right? Well, if you pay close attention to the crossed-out faces on the bedroom doors, you'll notice that there are a lot of clowns, jesters, or clown-jester hybrids.
Okay, those two are clowns, but that's not a clown. That is a dinosaur.
Sure, maybe it makes sense, like clowns and jesters in a circus-themed game, but then why are none of the other main human characters circus-themed as well?
Well, they're actually more based on a different kind of styles of entertainment. A cartoon character, a doll, a board game, a Mr. Potato Head, the theater, and Kaufmo, who could be like one of those inflatable punch clowns. And Pomni is a jester, a medieval form of entertainment. And two, it's a little loose on the idea of being a circus. I mean, they live in a tent, have a ringmaster, and occasionally have a clown, but that's it. I mean, it's a very odd coincidence that they're both clown-like characters, but couldn't there be a more logical explanation for this? Maybe if you felt like that you were laughed at by everyone in your previous life, then the device designs your avatar as a clown. Or just the circus occasionally creates clown avatars for people. Them being AIs that work off of each other after abstraction, it's just a stretch to make. I'm pretty sure there's a better way to solve why they're both clowns.
So, okay, if all of this is true, if we look at how real AI maps onto this fictional world, it looks like Pomni is an AI being trained up to escape and then do something. But why does any of that matter? Sure, it would be a fun twist, but why would it be significant for the story? Well, for one simple reason. If an AI like Pomni continues to get better and better, it can start doing some crazy things.
So then Lee goes and does the exact opposite of what he said he would do. Instead of proving how it would fit into the narrative of the story, he goes on a tangent how it would be catastrophic if one of these AIs escaped into the real world. But why does that matter? Look, Lee, I know what you're trying to do. You want to warn and inform people about the dangers of AI. It's a terrifying thing that needs to be understood. I get what you're doing. But the series you're talking about doesn't seem to agree with you. It's not really saying that AI is evil. As you said, these NPCs are no different from humans. They're one and the same. You're forcing an agenda onto this theory that doesn't work with the show you're covering. It's a nice thought to want to help people understand this problem, but you don't need to construe the context in order to get the right result. Just find a franchise that you could theoretically have an AI is bad connection, and make a theory on that. It won't get as many clicks because it's not as a popular IP, but at least you're not lying to prove your point. Try to keep your integrity intact while it's not too late.
true. What the amazing digital circus is doing here is trying to trick you into being sympathetic to this AI character, something that potentially has no emotion, no feeling. Or does it? Again, the show has done a lot to try to tell us that maybe there's not that big a difference between organic and artificial intelligence. Where's the line? All in all, we're sympathizing with Pomni because she's a good character. We want her to succeed, to escape, but to what end? If she's a super AI in the making, that could potentially replace humanity, just like we have the legitimate fear of these hollow, generative AI replacing real artists. And we're falling for it hook, line, and sinker, all because Pomni is just #relatable. Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. To our future AI overlords, I've always thought robots were cool.
And you just backpedaled on your point entirely. Great. Glad I wasted a half hour of my life and more just to get nothing out of it. That's so nice. Look, there was a problem with combining humans to these advanced AIs from the start. They're way too similar, and there's no real telltale to follow for evidence on who it could be. As you said yourself, Lee, where's the line? So if there is no difference, then your comparison just sounds like it could be either one. Oh, actually, dear viewer, could you actually give me that last thing I told you to remember? Thank you so much, you've been a real help. Remember how you claimed that Kinger was glitchy for lack of a better term? Well, what if he is an NPC? Think about it. He's supposedly been here the longest, glitches out a ton, is very forgetful, seems to know a lot about this place, and we've actually seen him eat something before, like the other NPCs. Granted, that example is in a non-canon promotional material, but if you're taking the merch line into account, then this definitely needs to be considered as well. And he could be even one of the older NPCs, one of those less advanced AIs that Kane has made, or maybe even one of the first. He even compares himself to the Gloin Queen, who is an NPC. I personally don't believe this idea, but it lines up better with your logic than anyone else. And yet you don't do it because Kinger isn't the main character. It's not as shocking if it is not to someone important. It still wouldn't work, however, because it wouldn't really explain why he's so obsessed with bugs. It's more likely he's the developer of the game, but we really don't know. This is why I don't find this theory to work, because what you're trying to prove is too similar to what already exists. What's the difference? Overall, this theory does everything it could have done wrong. It has every problem that previous bad theories on this channel have had. It blatantly ignores information to make your point work, forces a point that doesn't fit with the topic, construes information, contradicts your previous theories, and villainizes characters for your narrative. I'm talking about Pomni when I say that last one. Jax is obviously a jerk. There's no point in denying it. Lee, you have the potential to influence thousands of people and maybe more. Some of your viewers will just believe what you say and as fact. So if you lie to them, you could potentially create a false idea about a character or franchise. You're creating hype about a twist reveal that probably won't happen. I know you always say that it's just a theory, but just make good ones. You have made good theories. Your previous Kung Fu Panda theories, even though I don't love them, make sense. They don't construe information. They fit to the best of my knowledge. So please, Lee, if you end up watching this video, which is unlikely, and are unsure what to take away from this, then all you need to do is to make good theories. I'll be here watching to see if you get any better. Always give things a second chance.
But hey, that's just a theory. A debunked theory. Thanks for watching.
Hopefully this video doesn't take too long, because I'm in the recording phase. Maybe put text if I did take longer than I expected it to. But I'm glad I got to put this out there. And hey, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Could I have done something better with my discussion? Please tell me in the comments below. If you like the video, maybe consider subscribing. I don't usually make this kind of content, so it's not very good representation of my channel. But hey, why not check out my other stuff? Maybe you'll find something you'll enjoy. I hope you had fun listening to me rage about a video on the internet. And as always, I'll see you next time.